Today is brought to us by DJ Bulls. So DJ, if you'll come up front and introduce the program.
All I'm saying is Steve picks quack quack here and quack quack there on the day we talk about mental wellness. I don't have any association with the program either, so those of you who have said that I'm the poster child for this program, well, I guess that's up to you. But I'm excited to have Eric King with us today. Eric is the minister for the Valley View Church of Christ. But you'll also see Eric at the high school, or the intermediate school, or the elementary school, or on a corner, just looking for somebody to love and help, because Eric is a compassionate guy and really cares about helping young people especially. But Eric is involved with a number of great things for this community. One of those is the mental health workshops that he sponsors. And so I'm excited to introduce you to him and let him tell you a little bit about one of those workshops that's coming up a week from Saturday. So Eric, we're glad you're here.
Well, good afternoon, y'all. Do better than that. Good afternoon, y'all.
Good afternoon.
All right, good to be here. Appreciate the invitation. Yes, I'm a Gilmer Buckeye, class of 1990. Good to see my shipmate, Brandon Dodd, class of 1991. For those of you who don't know, the handsome young gentleman in the back, Huey C. Jones, that is my great uncle, also known as Uncle Huey. And most of you knew my granddaddy, the late M.D. King, Miles King. So I'm a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth generation Gilmer guy. One of the ministries that we carry on at the Valley View Church of Christ is mental health awareness. I will make a statement and then read you some statistics, and I do know how to be brief. I don't suffer from diabetes, and I'm not going to ask if anybody in here does. But I don't suffer from that disease, but I would never tell a person who's a diabetic to just get over it. I would also not tell that person, you need to pray more, you have a faith issue. It's what a lot of churches do. I would tell the person, certainly pray more. I would also tell the person to educate yourself on your disease. I would tell them to eat right, do what the doctor tells you, and manage your diabetes. I don't suffer from high blood pressure either. At least I won't admit it yet, because I'm 46 and I like pork chop. But I don't suffer from high blood pressure, but I know a lot of people who do, probably half the country or more. But I will never tell a person with high blood pressure to just get over it or just deal with it. I will tell the person, pray to God, do what your doctor tells you. If you're on medication, take your medication like they tell you. Stay away from the hogs and stay away from the salt. I also do not suffer from mental illness that I'm aware of. But I would never tell a person who suffers from depression, anxiety, bipolarism, OCD, and all of those wonderfully horrible things to just get over it or deal with it. What I would tell the person is that there is help for you. Educate yourself on what you have. Admit that you have it, because statistically, every psychologist and psychiatrist I talk to says that in any given audience, 1 out of 2 people suffers from some type of mental illness. Now, the official number is 1 out of 4, but the real number is probably 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3. Let me read you some statistics and just think about these numbers. 25% of the adult population that we know of suffers from mental illness. That's about 40 million Americans. Depression is the number 3 cause of death by way of suicide among people ages 15 to 24. Let me say that one again. Number 3 cause of death of people aged 15 to 24 is suicide. The suicide rate has increased in girls ages 15 to 19 by 100% in the last 10 years. And it's increased by 30% in the boys of that same age in the last 10 years. The depression rate among teenagers, 69% increase. How many of you work with kids on any level? You have kids, you got grandkids, you work with kids. Have you noticed what I've noticed? They don't seem to be as happy as we used to be. Depression has increased by 100%. And listen to this bracket. People age 20 and 21, that short little window of going to college, coming out of college, depression has increased by 100% in the last 10 years. And as I'm looking at my clock, it's 12:41. From 11 o'clock until this moment, a teenager has committed suicide. Every 1 hour and 40 minutes in this country that we know of, a teen, a kid, a child, a grandparent, a grandchild, a great-grandchild, got to a state of depression and committed suicide. What causes depression? What causes suicide? There's a lot of factors, but one of the main factors is childhood trauma that's untreated. You know, all the perfect little families that we wanted everybody to think that our families are so perfect. Our families are not perfect. And there's a lot of trauma that a lot of kids have gone through and experienced in childhood. You do know that bullying is at an all-time high and is not getting lower. Social media has been proven to contribute to depression and suicide. Direct cause of depression and a direct cause of suicide among teens. One thing that everyone here can do, if you still have teens that you're looking after, do y'all remember back in the day, and I was raised by grandparents, so I have a lot of back in the day, where they used to make us go to bed? They used to make us get off that phone, not the cell phone, but the phone on the wall. Yeah. Y'all have any flashbacks, right? They used to make us come inside, even when we didn't want to come inside, and they used to make us go take a bath because we were stinky, as the granddad would say, you stink, go take a bath. There was a generation that used to parent their children. If you're a modern parent with kids now, you still have to parent social media. The longer they're on Facebook, the longer they're Twittering, the higher the risk of depression and suicide. Because a great deal of the bullying is taking place where, y'all? Social media. It's called cyber bullying. Well, we went to school. Somebody would push on us. Somebody would call us ugly. Somebody would call us fat. Somebody would call us stupid. But every now and then we'd solve it the old-fashioned way. We'd have a little tussle and we'd be all right. Now, nobody wants to be called fat, dumb, and stupid. But you know what? We had more of a family community back then than people do now. The nuclear family has broken down, and that's one of the reasons why so many people are depressed and so many people are committing suicide, especially the youth, because I remember when we used to come down to your house. I remember when Crater and the rest used to come up to the house. We had that big family circle where eventually somebody would ask you, kid, what's the matter? What is your trouble? Talk to me. But you know, when the family broke down, children don't have that structure anymore. They don't have that support system. And so now we have such a great need for psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, mentors, big brothers, big sisters, because the nuclear family has broken down. So why, as I'm closing, do we have this ministry going on? Because several people at Valley View have admitted that they suffer from depression. And what I found, especially among the church, is that there are just certain things we don't want to deal with. We don't want to admit that maybe the minister or the pastor suffered from depression. We still have this stigma in our families, and if you have depression or anxiety, you're crazy and something's wrong with you. We still have a stigma that I don't want to admit that I suffer from depression because, Brandon, that makes me weak. No, it doesn't make you weak. It means that you have an illness in the brain. And what we need to understand is that depression, anxiety, and those things, it's not just in the mind. It is a literal disease in the actual organ called the brain. people who suffer from depression, and I'll let Dr. Duncan next Saturday tell you all about it. I hope you all will come next Saturday, 9 o'clock, in that room. There's neurotransmitters, hormones, and all that good stuff in the brain. When children are traumatized, the shape of their brain is different from a non-traumatized child. So it is not just something that people make up. Let me ask you this. Do you really think people wake up one day and say, you know, I think I'm going to kill myself today. I think I'm going to fly my kite and then I'm going to hang myself. When people get to a point of suicide, it's because the neurotransmissions in the brain have so overwhelmed them and overloaded them that they don't think that they have any other option. Those of us who don't suffer from depression, we don't get it. But the same as I don't have diabetes, the same as I don't get that disease, I can be compassionate towards diabetics, okay? I can be compassionate towards people with high blood pressure, can't I? And I can be compassionate towards people who suffer from depression. They have described it to me this way, like a big, heavy blanket is smothering me. And I wish I could turn it off, but I can't. So my appeal to you is this. If you suffer from mental illness, if you know people who suffer, there is help out there. And you don't have to live that way. I'm through. Are there any questions?
Stay here. There's a handout on your table. I think it's going to be in this room, that room.
Next room over.
A week from Saturday, it's free. That's part of his ministry, is making this workshop free, available for free to anybody who will come. And I can tell you that lots of folks have been blessed by this. I'm going to tell you two other things that Eric does, and you should follow or friend him on Facebook, just so you can know some things that Eric does. Eric is constantly in the life of a high school student, a college student, a junior college transfer, helping them fill out their FAFSA form. Those forms for financial aid can be pretty cumbersome and can really take someone aback who doesn't have someone in their life to help walk alongside them in the process of getting into school. He will help them find scholarships, get financial aid. Maybe you know someone in your family, in your network, in your church who could use that help. I'm telling you, reach out to this guy, because he's beating down doors helping kids get into college and get money to help them do it. And the other thing he's doing is for kids that were products of those nuclear families being broken down. He's helping them with their taxes, helping them be legal so that 10 years down the road and they don't have a mentor in their life, they don't have the government knocking on their door saying, you owe $300,000 in back taxes. And so those are just two other things that sometimes we don't think about, because we're blessed to have things in our own lives and we take care of these things on our own. And Eric has turned something that we kind of go into automatic pilot about and made a ministry out of it. It's kind of like the 12 steps, which find their roots in Scripture. You know, that first step is admitting that we're powerless over something and that our lives have become unmanageable. Well, Eric's helping people who may not ever get beyond that first step through ministries like this. And so I'd just encourage you, if you have questions about it, to ask him afterwards. Take these, make copies of them, hand them out at your church, at your office, if you know people who could really be blessed by this, because it is a real great ministry to this community. Thanks for being here, dude.
Does anyone have a question that you want to direct to Eric?